I'm gonna start out by saying that your positioning. Are you offlane Omniknight? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you don't have the variance of the hero every time. Um, well, the part of the problem here is Omniknight offlane is not something that I'm like used to playing against or with or anything like that, so I'm not going to be able to. Uh, I haven't been playing too much in the past like week or so. So if it's recent meta, I'm not like experienced too much with it. But it's also kind of like offlane Omniknight can get zoned super easily at level 1, and in the higher level games, people know that. In lower level games, they don't. And then if you get like level 2 or 3, you get a lot harder to kill because you have heal and repel and possibly degenerate. So do you want me to you wanted to do the like mid game positioning? Is that or okay? Yeah. The so with this fight right here, um, the first thing that I want to point out is you kind of want to use your ability as soon as it has its full use, which means you're missing 90 health, or you'd more like want to be missing 120ish health before you cast it, um, and you would want it to hit both people, which would be like right about now. Um, and then if you did that, it would have been off of cooldown like right about here, and you would have been able to heal yourself with it. So there's that, and then also when you're taking a big, or when you're basically you could have ate a tango also, which would have made the fight a lot different. So between those two things, yeah, and then also if you popped a salve right now, because the only way he's gonna break your salve is if he's yeah, and if you don't heal before that, you're gonna die no matter what. So the salve is either gonna heal you full, and he's not gonna keep going on you because you're not gonna die to his Q. So why even do it? Or he's gonna keep going on you, but you're gonna survive when you wouldn't have otherwise. Or you could have also just ate a tango. Plus, another small thing is you could have bought out, and you would have had your wand there. Um, and this is just recognizing they have a 3 stun lineup, or 4 stuns when this guy gets. Yeah. I'm gonna go through the early game because you said you're learning offlane, and this might not be exactly positioning, but I think it'll be, yeah, as helpful if not more. Alright, that's good. One thing that you want to be doing with the Offlane Omniknight is you want to be healing when he's going for the last hit. Because that, for one, it guarantees that you're going to hit him with it, but then the second one is you're fucking up his last hit. So it's just getting more out of the exact same thing. Like here, he might be able to get the last hit fine. He doesn't go for it, but that's because he's bad more than anything else. It's good though, you're using your backpack correctly, you're putting your TP in there instead of important shit, you're using your quick buy. The only thing is you're not buying out, which is important. And then a lot of this is just well, it's recognizing their lineup, and it's a mix of recognizing their missing and the lineup, because they have how many seconds of lockdown? They have, this guy's is like 2, I think. Yeah, 2. This is like a second and a half. And then this scales, so they have this guy skills chicken. Even without it, they have like 5 seconds of lockdown. So it's kind of like, if you don't have a ward here, you have to play a lot more careful, because if any one wraps around, they're gonna follow up with 2 or 3 more. And part of that is one of the things that I usually talk about with new students is the quick buy, which you're doing, but the reasons that you want to be doing it is, the first one is you buy out when you die, which can like save you a ton of gold. Like, I looked over one of my Slark games a while ago, and I think I figured out, because I wasn't buying out, I ended up having 2,000 less gold at the end of the game. Between, like, if I had an extra 100 gold here, I would have had treads, which means I kill him instead of he kills me, and all of that, and it compounds 2,000 gold for just not pressing buyout on. And then the other one is it makes it easier to buy your stuff quicker. So if you're running through here, like if they're going on you and you run this way, you can pick up your boots on the way, which can save you, or you can not miss a last hit when you run for your boots or whatever. And then the main thing is, if you're using your quick buy and you're not just like filling up what is in your like default guide, it makes you think about what the lane is going to look like and what you can actually do about it. So this lane, you have a pretty decent build. If they catch you, you're kind of dead no matter what. So the boots are really good, and they don't really have too much magic damage. This guy won't be skilling his Q. This guy, the ignite is like good magic damage, but you can, yeah. So stout shield, boots, and soul ring, and the wand is pretty good too, because if this guy's throwing out ignite on you, you want the health regen from the magic wand. So your build is correct, but your build is correct, but you're not playing your build correctly. Does that make sense? The main thing is, so you have all of the things that you want for the lane, but you're not playing the lane correctly. And the way that you play the lane correctly is you try not to ever get caught in a position where they're all gonna go on you if they catch you. Which mostly it's just having a ward right here, which would be better than any of the items you bought so far. Like, I'd rather have you have a wand or a ward than your boots at this point, or even your soul ring. And if you have to buy that yourself, like, yeah. But the part of it is, if you went through the thought process of what does their lane look like and what can I do about it, their lane looks like a fuck ton of lockdown that can follow itself, and if you get caught, you're gonna take all of their spells. So the best way to play against that is to have the ward. Like, you should have one provided for you, but like, if you don't, yeah. Yeah. Do you have any questions so far? Sure. I think it's 3 seconds and the duration is like 2.25 or 2. It's a little bit the duration is a little bit less than the cooldown. There's two mechanics of that. I guess there's like one of them is if this creeps, like if you do it right now, this creep isn't gonna aggro you because he's in the middle of his attack. So it can be that, and then there's also of course the cooldown of this itself, where if you did it and then you do it like 2 seconds later, it's not gonna do anything. And then there's the mechanic of it's 500 range, and if you right click from outside of the 500 range and you run into the 500 range, it has to take another 3 seconds of you continuing that right click before it re-registers, or whatever the duration is. So those are the main mechanics on it. Does that... Okay. No. That's a good thing to abuse if you're like mid laning or something. Yeah, me neither. Drums is good, I like it. There's a small thing here where you want to wait on your heal, because you're going to be taking the creep damage here. Yeah. It doesn't make a huge difference here, but it's... Yeah. You're getting ganked by a sniper. Typical. It's fine. The main thing here is your Tinker getting his bots. Also, I would much rather see you have the Windlace than... Because it's the Sage's Mask. Because you have a lot of... Like, your main sustain is coming through your Soul Ring. So typically, how the mana regen works is 0.5 is basically 50%. It's not exactly, but it's close enough. And usually this would mean like 50% more mana regen, but most of your mana is going to come from your Soul Ring, so it drops down to like maybe 10 or 20% of your mana regen actually comes from this. And then your Windlace is... Again, you're going to die if you get caught, and with the Windlace, you're not going to get caught as much. And then also, right here with this Shadow Shaman, you might have been able to kill him if you had your Windlace. If you repel yourself and run at him here, you catch him with the Windlace. And it's also, another thing with this is kind of like, you know how Pudge sometimes doesn't want to auto attack somebody running away because you want to keep them in rot range. Yeah, so that's kind of like what happens here. You go for the auto attack, and I think you actually auto attacked farther than your degen range. Yeah, whatever the fuck that was, but yeah, that's like if you ran up on him and like threw him, got him with a degen aura, and then heal bombed on top of him, and then like attacked him, you would have killed him here. And the Windlace would have made sure that happened. And the not going for the attack before the degen aura. It's the same thing with Clockwork Battery Assault. And another thing that I recommend for like everyone, like I'm a position 4 player, um, and like most of my games are just like clockwork and shit. So yeah, and even with that in mind, I do this shit like every day. I do one thing of this with Shadow Fiend for 3 minutes a day, and like I probably hit creeps for like 2 or 3 minutes an entire game, but I still think it's worth it to do this. So, especially as a position 1 to 3, it's very important for you to be doing that. And like I just have a sticky note on my desk, and I write down like my last hits / my denies, so I can like keep track. And in like a week, you'll be doing like 20 to 30% better. And if you're able to last hit with a Shadow Fiend, you can easily last hit with an like I think you missed a last hit with like where was it? You have 120 damage and you're missing the last hit. Yeah, and it's just one of those things that it's like it's a fundamental of Dota, where it's like you're not gonna outgrow it and you're not gonna ever not need it. It's like when people think tread switching isn't that big of a deal, it's like if you're trying to get like amazing at Dota, you can't just like skip things. Like everything's important. So what are you going Yules for? Yeah. The only thing that I see it like I would even consider getting Yules for this game is for the axe. Because if he let's say you guys are like defending high ground and you see him like running up, you can click your Yules on him when you're here and he's here, and then he blinks here and your Yules goes off before his call. So it's a really good counter for him sometimes when you don't have other solutions, but aside from that, it's not really that great. It's 170 mana for a 2.5 second displacement, which is like if it was a 2.5 second stun, then it might be different, but it's not. And then with Soul Ring and drums, you kind of like aren't too worried about it. Your mana regen, if you're using it like correctly, like if you're just heal bombing with this off cooldown, you'll be fine on your mana. Especially with the drums, the 0.75 mana regen, and it's like the movement speed is like nice, I guess, as an Omniknight. The Cyclone's like it doesn't purge anything this game. There's nothing worth purging this game. Like I guess if you like dodge this guy's then it's like alright, but I'd rather I'd rather see you get like even a Force Staff or some shit. So if they like catch your Tinker out, you can like save him, or like this game you're not going to be very important. And it's more of let these guys do their things and how can you help them do that. So maybe even a Vlad's would be good because this guy's he doesn't have any sustain, and your Vlad's would help him some with that, and then most of their damage is going to be physical right clicks unless this guy goes like Maelstrom and this guy goes like Radiance or some shit, and then you can't really do anything about this guy's spin. But Vlad's also would have been another way to deal with your mana, because with 0.65 and then 0.75 and Soul Ring, you should be fine on your mana, and it's cheaper. What else would be good? If you guys don't have an urn, it's amazing, but this guy has one. And most position 4s should get it. Maybe even a Blink Dagger would have been good. Yeah. And if you can like blink save your Tinker or something with a heal and a repel. I think it's kind of like one of those items that you're using it as a crutch instead of learning how to properly use Soul Ring and conserve your mana. Um, I'd say it's questionable, and it depends on how important it is for you to cast your spells. Like, if they don't have anything that Repel is good against, like amazing against, that needs to happen. Like maybe if you have a Spectre and they have like 4 stuns or some shit that you can like save him with Repel, then it might be a lot better to consider than if they have like, I don't know, a Jakiro, like a Ogre. Ogre's has a stun, but it's really short range. So it's not very... shit like that where you just kind of like... The Repel is nice, but it doesn't matter too much. But yeah, like right now you'd have your Radiance by now. Well, if you skip the Yules and went straight Radiance. I wonder if Echo Saber would be decent. With Phase Boots and your 90 damage, if you went like Echo Blink, it might be good. I don't know. Like you'd have to try it. And then yeah. It's a, where is it? It solves your mana also. And it's the slow's good. But if you go Echo Saber, you would want a Blink Dagger also. Yeah, something good on them. Well, the main thing so far, so your mid game as an Omniknight position wise, which is what you specified when we started the lesson, is your goal usually is to stay behind your team and get a repel off correctly. I think that's true even as an offlane Omniknight. Like your counter initiation is a lot better than like your tank ability, I guess. So like here you would want to just repel your PL and let him go hit a tower instead of you hitting the tower. Because if the axe blinks in and calls both of you, you guys are gonna lose the fight most likely. But if he only calls you or the PL, then if he calls the PL, you can ult and repel and heal the PL, or ult, heal, repel the PL, and he's fine. And if he goes on you, you're just a fucking Omniknight. Also, you are holding your ult too much. Well, you used it once on the creep wave. Shit happens though. It was like right here. Yeah. Feels bad. It is what it is. And this is kind of like, I haven't been watching your like map movement too much, but it's kind of like, they're mostly up, you're all alone, you're not gonna do anything to this tower, so why are you even here? But yeah, if we look at your Yules, you haven't really done anything with it. Like, it's given you mana regen, but you don't want to spend 3,000 gold for just some, yeah. Yeah. Especially because you have a Soul Ring, and you have an ability that heals so you can actually spam your Soul Ring off cooldown. And here, this is a small thing, but when you see all of them here, you don't want to be, well, you don't want to be pushing this creep wave. You can't defend this at this point, but what you can do is push out this next lane, or this next wave, and then TP back. So if you guys are defending this and they're having a hard time pushing, which they will with the Tinker, yeah, these creeps, and these two catapults especially, will be on this tower the whole time. Whereas if you take this creep camp, you're getting less gold, less experience, and no map pressure, or tower pressure. See, like, if you didn't take this camp, you would have been, like, right here. You could throw out one heal and TP away with your Radiance, burning down these creeps, and then these would die. And you'd be here at the exact same time. Well, you also saw the Shaman and the Sniper here. Like, it's one of those things that I went through a long phase with, where I'm just like, there's no way they're here. And you just die like 1,000 times, and then you finally get sick of dying, and you're like, alright, well, there's like a 20% chance they're there, and is it worth me? Yeah. I think I like factor out how much my death is going to have an impact. Like, if I'm dead for 80 seconds or something, I'm like, is it worth being dead for 16 seconds and them getting 20% of however much tower damage or whatever? Is it worth that happening? And if it's not, then it's not a good play to make. Like, if there's a 1% chance that you die, then it's kind of like, all right, well, it depends on what you're doing. If you push out a lane and that means that they can't push out like another lane, then it could be worth it. Yeah. And in that, it's like, if I'm dead for 1 second, is this worth it? And it's like, yeah, probably. but it's a little bit different because, of course, you can't really push off of 1 second, but yeah. I think I think probably something like a Blink Dagger and a BKB would have been good because then you can save your repel for your teammates. And it'll give you some tankiness and some damage. But yeah, I think a lot of it is the Yules. And then the early deaths put you behind and put them ahead. So did you want to go over the other? Um, Same build. Yeah. And the early deaths was caused by not understanding what the lane actually was. And the lane was like, if you're caught, you're dead. But if not, you're basically fine, because the only harass that they had in that lane was Ignite. Which, like, isn't a big deal, especially if you're going Soul Ring and Wand. You have a lot of regen, and then you also have Repel and you have Heal, so you would have been fine, as long as you don't get completely caught out. You want to be trying to block the range creep, or let the range creep go. Here you could have. Sometimes you just can't, I think. But right here, if you block to the right side, if you're standing like right here, then you can block these two and let this range creep run by. Also, don't be afraid to get a Quelling Blade if you're going core. It's not a crutch, if you're last hitting. Like, it takes 2 last hits to pay for itself, and then also there's situations like this where there's going to be two creeps that are low, and if you have the Quelling Blade, you can kill theirs quicker so that your attack like cooldown resets so that you can get the deny also. And then also if you jungle at all, it'll quickly pay for itself. Well, the Soul Ring I think is fine because it does give you a little bit of damage, and it makes it so that if the ogre comes back, you're not fucked. Because if you went phase boots and the ogre comes back, you have a lot harder time. So the Soul Ring is like, the Soul Ring also is really good in lane because you can just fucking trade forever. With phase boots, you don't really have that too much. Like, you're gonna win the trades with phase boots or Soul Ring, but Soul Ring makes it that you can get down to 50%, this guy gets to 20%, and then you heal back up. And you're not, like, if you're sitting there at 50% and he's at 20%, you can still just die to an ogre gank or a treant gank or whatever. So you want to be topped off and winning the trades. And then also, if nobody comes back with your Soul Ring, you can just, like, heal bomb. Whereas with phase boots, you're just kind of, like, able to right click better, and you would rather completely zone somebody out rather than just having more damage to get denies and everything. Because, like, you can have like 200 damage and still miss some denies and last hits, and this guy gets denies and last hits, even though he has like half the damage of you. But if and because things like this where two are going to get low at the same time. But if he can't come up to the wave, then it doesn't matter at all what your damage is or his damage. I don't know why the fuck he has two blades of attack, but alright. Phase boots PL. Oh, nice. Gotcha. Do you have any other questions so far? It depends on the lane. Yeah. It's like, are they gonna kill you with right clicks? And if the answer is no, then you don't really need it. I might not get 3 points in this. Yeah, like this maxed is a lot better than this maxed. Because with this maxed, they can't fuck with you in a fight or whoever you repel. But with this maxed, it's like you're gonna sometimes you're not. At least with the support, which is, of course, it's different. Getting degen aura sucks because by the time that you have it leveled up, and you want to max your Q always, almost always, every game. So by the time that you have this maxed after heal, you're oftentimes not going to be able to get in range to use it, or you'll just die. But if you have repel maxed, you can more easily run in and get this off better. So having this maxed can help this, but having this max doesn't really help this at all. This is good. And this is one of those, you just want to stay on top of him. Yeah, you right-clicking let him live here. This game Radiance first would have been really good. With all the illusions and all the right click and all the melee heroes. The main thing with the Radiance is kind of like, if you don't have a Radiance, they can just ignore you a lot of the time. Where the Radiance allows you to cast your spells on other heroes and still be useful. The Yules isn't too bad, because Abaddon ult and his shield, and if Shadow Fiend tries to Yules ult somebody, you can just Yules the Shadow Fiend. Whereas if he times it right, you won't have... The cast animation of your repel should be too long to repel the... Yeah. Well, they're all bought out. You don't have any wards in stock. I would be trying to group up here though and push mid and then take Roche. And there's a good time to Yules some. Yeah. Like, this Yules is just worse than the Yules on the Abaddon. I think you're jungling too much. Yeah, I think you're in the mindset that if I'm running from one place to the other to make it more efficient, I'm just gonna jungle. But the problem with that is, like, creeps are the last thing you want to be doing, because it's less gold for the same amount of time than lane creeps, and then lane creeps also, like, do, yeah, tower damage and all that shit. Lol. XD. But your build that you go is very strong in the early game, right? And then it's just kind of like, you can't right-click people later on, no matter what your items are, unless you're super far ahead. Is that kind of like what you run into? Well, that and because you can't right-click later on in the game, um, part of it is your hero is just gonna die. Um, it's you want to be doing things early instead of jungling, like pushing out a lane so you can take Roche or something. Um, like right now you're jungling like you're trying to like end the game at 50 minutes or some shit. Part of that also is you probably run into it being hard to group with your teammates, but yeah. It's like if you're at least trying, your team's more likely to be doing the right things. And it's one of those things where if you stay in the habit of doing this, you're going to. There's a lot of bad habits in Dota that will take you to the next tier, but will make you stuck there forever. Um, like the best example is spamming Bloodseeker. At least like back when he was like OP as shit. You might gain like 500 MMR, but you only know how to play Bloodseeker. And then if you play anything else, you're just gonna lose the game or whatever. And other shit's like harassing, getting in the habit of harassing in a way that you shouldn't be able to harass just because the enemies allow you to get away with it, which is usually being too aggressive because it's usually being too aggressive because the newer you are to the game, the less you know the limits of things. So you assume when somebody is being super aggressive, they know the limits better than you do. So oftentimes you can get in the habit of being too aggressive, and then keep being too aggressive, and then losing games because of it. When the enemies realize that, hey, he actually can't be doing what he's trying to do right now. Also, you're, again, holding your ult way too long. Your lion wouldn't have died if you just ulted, like right here. And the Yules isn't doing anything again. I'd say Yules is probably like a 5% pickup on Omniknight in the offlane. If that, even. Like, I think maybe Guardian Greaves would be your solution in a lot... Yeah, in a lot of the same situations, because it's... yeah, again, especially against silences. Against a silencer, you want to be unsilenced. You don't want to be unsilenced in 2.5 seconds. You want it right when you want it. And then also, you can just be like, basically stunning yourself for 2.5 seconds. That allows your enemies to go on you. Yeah. It's like if you get disrupted or OD imprisoned, it can just set up for the enemies, and you're basically spending 3,000 gold to sometimes set up on yourself. Why didn't you heal this guy here? Oh, okay. I didn't see that. Is that what happened? Yeah, you did. I couldn't tell between all of the... No, what you did was fine, I think. Because they could have followed up with other shit. I would try to probably ult like right now though, because you have all of your team in here, and Chrono's going to be down in like half a second or a second. And it's kind of like, if you guys win this fight, the game's over, right? So it's kind of like, why not? XD. Should have had a blink dagger, dude. It's all your fault. Yeah, I mean, it's just like a nice thing to have, and it's like, no hero in the game wouldn't want extra regen and movement speed. But it's like, that's not the best item in most situations. And then one thing that I want to point out here that I see a lot of people not doing is what's stopping you from buying your Shiva's recipe and just putting it on the courier? Usually there's items that aren't worth flying out, but you can just throw on the courier. And then, like, right now, you do have the gold for it? Yeah, I was thinking you had the, but you definitely have the gold for it, and if you just throw the recipe on here, even when you have this 600 gold, maybe you guys get into a huge fight and the courier's flying out, and the courier's going here for something else, and you can get, it's just kind of like there's no downside. The only downside that you're going to ever have of casually putting some small part of something on the courier is if it dies. Yeah, but that's like 1 out of like every 500 games that'll happen. So it's kind of like, just why not? And then oftentimes like sometimes I'll have enough gold for a force staff, but we're like right here, and I don't really want to fly a force staff all the way over here, but then like my carry gets like a BKB or some shit, and then my force staff like saves a life or something, and it's just, there's no cost to doing it, except for of course the like 0.3% chance the courier dies. Yeah, the Mystic Staff is kind of like, it might give you enough mana to cast a spell, but it also might just give you more mana for him to burn. Whereas the Plate Mail is, you're never gonna not want extra. Yeah. Any other questions or anything? This one's almost over. What are you trying to ask? There's a lot of different takes on it, and there's a lot of different truths to every different take. Like right now, I'm spamming Clockwork, but the reason that I'm doing it is not because I think Clockwork's broken or anything like that. It's just that in my games, I have to. If you look at any of my games, I'll be either first, second, or third pick. This game I was third pick, and the only thing that I had vision of this game was they had a disruptor, and I'm not gonna fucking counter pick a disruptor. And the thing with Clockwork is, Clockwork and Night Stalker are the only two heroes that I can pick early and not feel completely useless, regardless of the enemy team lineup. Like, if they pick a AM carry, a Quap mid, and a Puck offlane or some shit like that, or a Pangolier, with Clockwork, at the very least I can cog my own lanes, or I can try and zone out the Pangolier with my battery assault and shit like that. And with Night Stalker, those heroes that are tanky and survivable based off of their spells, they're typically a lot more squishy, so this makes them like super fucking easy to kill. So these two are my go-to first pick heroes. So for me, I'm spamming heroes, but I'm doing it because I don't have enough information to ever have counter picking as a thing I can do. Like 50% of the games I just won't see any of them, and then the other 50%, or the other 49%, I'll see like one support, and then the other 1% I'll see like a Juggernaut or some shit. So it's, there's nothing that's like enough to, if I see like one enemy hero, I'll want to change my picks. Because if like I pick Pudge, or what would be a good example? Let's say I pick a Nyx because they have an OD. and then they pick like some shit that's like, I don't know, Nick sucks against. I don't think he's really bad against anything, but it's still like you can have a direct counter and it's still like not enough to pick your one hero. Like if they have a Medusa and I pick a Nyx and then they just pick like a bunch of grouping heroes with the Medusa, then it's like I gotta pick off hero, and they can just snowball at 10 minutes, and even though I am a counter to her, they drafted it so it doesn't matter. Yeah, so there's that part of spamming one hero, which is like if you have to first pick, then spamming is like you have the same amount of information every single game, so it's like it's not that I'm spamming Clockwork, it's that Clockwork is the hero that is the one that I want to pick when I have the information in those games, which is always the same thing. So it's like I'm spamming him, but I'm like not spamming him, if that makes. And then there's also depends on, as an extension of that, it depends on when you're picking. Because if you're a carry or a mid laner and you're spamming one hero, that's going to be very detrimental, because that's those matchups are very. It matters a lot more what your hero is. So if you only play like a Medusa or some shit, and you last pick a Medusa into like an AM, a Nyx, a Lion, all this different shit, then you're basically shitting on yourself. So it depends on. I think the later that you're allowed to pick, the more you should be picking different heroes. And as a, we could actually, what's your name start with a W, I think? M. The opposite one. Yep. Where are you? Yeah, so you had 4th pick. So you saw that you guys had a Lion, and they had a Trant and Abaddon. With that, I wouldn't really like be too inclined to pick a Omniknight, because your repel doesn't do anything. Yeah, and but at the same time, your degen aura is like pretty decent against them. But it's like, as a 4th pick, there isn't anything you're really like trying to do based off of their picks or your picks. So it's like, it doesn't matter really. Yeah, at least for this game. And then for this game, your 2nd pick, they only have a Tusk. I'd be trying to pick. You should be 3rd pick on your team as an offlaner if you can, but if they're making you like pick later, then yeah. 7th pick here. AA, Zeus, Sven. Yeah, so here they have a really weak lane. Regardless of what their last picks are going to be, the lane's going to be pretty weak. Because AA doesn't really do anything, and Sven like also kind of doesn't. So picking somebody that could bully their lane, Omniknight can kind of do that pretty well. And then of course the magic resistance is going to be good against Zeus. So these are like the things you want to consider when you're picking your hero. And this is something that this is one element of the game that you completely lose out on when you're only picking one hero. Yeah. Omniknight's good here because it's good against both of these. Those are the only ones you see. Yeah. So do you have any final questions or anything? Great. Here your 3rd pick. I'd say try and pick later if you can. Yeah. It's pretty good against Pudge. It's pretty good with Pudge too. But yeah. So yeah, I think the main things is try and drop the Yules most games. Consider getting a Blink Dagger. Consider Quelling Blade. Look at what their lane is gonna possibly be. Like this lane is gonna be, the Pudge could be roaming, but you have to assume that he's like gonna be there, and then build accordingly. Um, so assume you're going against a Luna Pudge Rubik lane, and basically they don't harass you well, but they kill you. You get hooked, and lifted and rotted and lucent beamed, or lucent beam into hook, and lift into. So it's basically they don't, aside from the Luna, which doesn't really have harass until level 5 because her beam kind of sucks. They're gonna just try and kill you. So with that in mind, Boots and playing, trying to figure out where the Pudge is and playing on the opposite side of him, or staying away from the Rubik when you think that the Pudge could land a hook based off of the Rubik's lift and all of that. But yeah, so we didn't cover too much of positioning, but it was like, I think you were asking about your positioning in the laning phase, kind of. I think that was the main thing. And that was, again, just like looking at what the positioning is going to change, because if they don't have any kill threat, then you can be on the, yeah, you can be on the creep wave. But if they have only kill threat, then the same positioning against the same carry with the same items will be wrong in one case where it's right in the other. But yeah, so if you don't have any final questions, we can wrap it up here.